Are there any diet or lifestyle decisions that can help with menopause?
Oh, it's so interesting about menopause. So I remember when I was in graduate school, and one of my favorite teachers of all time, she had told me, she actually inspired me. She was a vegetarian. This was many, 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 many years ago. I feel so old thinking about it. She inspired me because she was vegetarian, and she said, I didn't go through menopause. I just all of a sudden my period stopped. I was like, whoa, because what I had always heard about was people just suffering. And of course, as a woman, I'm dreading the day that that's going to happen to me. But she had said that, and I started noticing these little trends. I don't know how, I'm not familiar with a lot of research comparing plant-based eaters to omnivores going through menopause per se in terms of symptoms. There might be data out there, I just haven't seen it. But I have seen that anecdotally with clients. The thing is that you're eating healthy, you're taking care of yourself, and so your body's going to at least ease that transition. I do know also about a lot of people easing the actual menstruation cycle itself. You know, women suffer, a lot of women suffer every month for years by, you know, with what happens during menses. And so those things may be mitigated, maybe avoided, myself included. I actually it got so much easier for me when I went on a plant-based diet. And I see that with my clients all the time. So yeah, I mean, just again, there's no special food or special thing. It's just eating a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, focusing on the 6 daily 3s. It sounds silly because it's so repeated. I keep repeating myself, like just eat whole plants, eat the 6 daily 3s, be mindful of your notable nutrients. It really is that simple, and it really is that generalizable to every condition. Results are typical, and it is a one size fits all way of eating.
From a health standpoint, should we try to add oil such as flax, hemp, and olive oil to our diets, or should we try to avoid it? If we do use it, should we avoid heating it up?
I do not recommend using oils. They're definitely not essential. They're definitely processed foods. I mean, you're taking, let's say, the olive, you're sucking out the fat, you're getting rid of all the good fiber and pretty much most of the nutrition, and you're concentrating it into a fat. We don't need it. We definitely don't need it. In my book, The Vegetarian Diet, I talk about this myth that the reason the Mediterranean diet is so healthy is because of the olive oil, the red wine, and the fish, when that's not the case. It's because it was a plant-based diet. That's my hypothesis, and that's the thesis of the book. But oil is, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, I wouldn't recommend coconut oil, and I wouldn't recommend using oil like you need it. But that said, most people are concerned about chronic overnutrition. Most people are trying to lose weight. Most people are trying to, reduce. And 1 cup of oil is 2,000 calories. I mean, that's so easy to get a cup into your day. If you're glucking it, and a lot of my clients do, they're glucking it over their salad, they're pouring it, they're sauteing with it. And the thing is, it's so easy to eliminate in the diet. It's so easy to saute. I have videos showing you how to saute without oil. I use water usually, or vegetable broth, sometimes wine to deglaze. It's not necessary. And it's a great way to cut out thousands of calories a week. I mean, literally, you can cut out so much calories. But that said, once in a while, if you want to use a little drop of, let's say, truffle oil or chili oil or sesame oil, because it does impart such a strong flavor, a little drop of that is not going to harm you. So I'm not an extremist by any chance. And I'm not telling people oil will kill you, because that's not true. I mean, you can't look at the Mediterranean data and say that. That's just, again, it's always back to the evidence. No one needs oil. I would say nobody, it's not an essential food, and it's not something that we can't easily swap out in the kitchen and just use once in a while. It's almost impossible to eat out without it. It's near impossible. It's always home, but you're not going to create major damage by including a little tiny bit, but you don't need it. And most people thrive without it. I don't include it. I save it for when I go out once in a while and assume it's going to be there. Or if I'm really I love the flavor of truffle, and I'd rather have that. So once in a while, I'll put a little bit. I love the chili. So sometimes a little bit, but honestly, I have the same bottle. It always expires. I get the tiniest bottles. They always expire because I rarely ever use it. Most of my recipes, in fact, all of my own recipes when I'm working by myself, like my next book, I have 0 oil in them, because you don't need it. You just don't need it.
Others have said all sweeteners feed yeast, mold, fungus, and cancers. Do you agree? And should we avoid all sweeteners, or do you think people won't succeed without a little?
That's such a good question. So again, compared to what? What are you doing currently? How much of your diet are you doing? I subscribe to the idea of less is more. I listen to all the major organizations, the health organizations that suggest, well, they say 10%, less than 10% of total calories from added sweeteners, but they really want to say less than 5%, but they're shooting from where we are because people are getting 25% or more of their calories from added sweeteners, which is quite scary. So compared to what? Are you one of those consumers where you're eating sugar-based blah, blah, blah? Or are you one of those people that are like me, where I put a tablespoon of maple syrup in a dressing or a teaspoon of maple syrup in my dressing to make it a balanced, dressing. So you're balancing salt, sweet, salty, spicy, or sorry, umami. I can never remember all these, sour and bitter. You want to balance that. Sometimes a little maple syrup, a little date paste or date syrup, a little bit of dates or something could be used to balance it. But we don't need it, and for sure. So can you go completely without it? Some people can. Some people would say, I can't do anything if that's the case. But I work with most of my people come to me with, well, they call it a sugar addiction, but I don't really see it as a sugar addiction. I see it as something that you can actually recover from, and that it requires reducing it. I'm unique. I could just use myself as an example because I'm not unique. I'm very common. I experienced it. I could speak personally. I was the sugar junkie. Like I love cookies and ice cream, everything, you name it. Me and my sister would bake a batch of chocolate chip cookies and we would eat the cookies before it got into the oven. We loved sugar. And I am at the point now for a few years now, and I didn't do this on purpose. I just started eating wholer and wholer, where I, even on my birthday, do not want anything sweet. I'd rather have more kale or whatever I'm eating. Cream of mushroom, cauliflower rice has been my favorite recipe for a year. Whatever it is, I'd rather have whole foods. And I've seen this with my clients. I cut out the artificial sweeteners, even the more natural ones like stevia or all that, because of that hormonal effect that it does and the palate effect that it does. And then I cut out the actual refined sugars and I went to wholer, and then I used fruit. And I do this with my clients and it works. And it's a dopamine hit that you get from this sweetness. But it's also what's so beautiful about our amazing, extraordinary human bodies is that we can adjust to anything. Our palate adjusts to anything that we do persistently and that we use as habit. And so anyone can recover from this. Anyone can heal and eat less sugar. Anyone could eat a more whole diet. It's just a matter of staying the course. And I've got a real protocol that I use, but we don't need it. And it's, and it does cause some health problems, especially if you're going over the 5%, 10% of your total calories. Not only are you swapping out healthy foods, because obviously there's always a displacement of calories depending on the overall ratio, but you're also causing there's a lot of health implications of consuming refined sugars, added sugars.
Why was it important for you to come back and speak here at the Real Truth About Health conference?
Well, I'm honored to speak at this conference because it's a wonderful way for people to get this information at their fingertips. And you guys have an amazing way of getting this information out. And my goal from day one has always been to shout from the rooftops how extraordinarily health promoting simply eating plants can be. And my mission or my goal right now for the last 16 years is to make it accessible and easy for everyone. So everyone could at least incorporate some of these ideas into their life. And so everyone could get a little bit healthier with just what they put on their fork. So I'm honored to be here and grateful that you've had me.
Well, we're honored to have you. And thank you so much, not just for all of the meaningful work you do, but for joining us here today. And means a lot to our audiences as well. So thank you so much, Juliana, and be well.
Thank you. You as well.